Yo, what's up? I'm Juice WRLD.
I explode like BT, you cannot see me. They try to watch me like MTV. Think you know me, I'm switching like Kobe. Go smoking sass like a blunt of fucking OG. Oh.
In the heart of Chicago's South Side, where the wind carries both dreams and despair, a legend was born. But this isn't just another rise and fall story. This is about a young man who turned his pain into poetry, his struggles into symphonies, and his brief time on Earth into an eternal echo that still reverberates through millions of souls today. December 2nd, 1998, Jared Anthony Higgins enters the world in Chicago, Illinois. Born to Carmela Wallace, a single mother working multiple jobs, Jared would grow up in Calumet Park and later Homewood, suburbs that seemed peaceful on the surface but harbored the same struggles that plagued much of Chicagoland. But to understand Juice WRLD, you have to understand Chicago. This isn't just any city. This is where music bleeds from the concrete, where pain transforms into art. From blues to house music, from Kanye West to Chief Keef, Chicago has always been a breeding ground for artists who refuse to sugarcoat reality. Jared's father was largely absent, leaving Carmela to raise two boys alone. She worked at a nonprofit organization, fighting for social justice in a city that often felt unjust. Her strength would become Jared's foundation, but even the strongest foundations can crack under enough pressure. Music became Jared's first language before he could even properly speak English. By age 4, he was teaching himself piano, not because anyone taught him, but because the melodies in his head demanded to be heard. By 10, he was learning guitar and drums, absorbing every genre from rock to rap, from emo to classical. His mother would later say that music wasn't just his hobby, it was his oxygen. But the same sensitivity that would later make him a musical genius also made him vulnerable to the world's darker offerings. By middle school, he had already begun experimenting with substances, not as recreation, but as medication for feelings too big for his small frame to contain. High school, Highland Park High School, to be exact. This is where Jared Anthony Higgins would begin his transformation into Juice WRLD. The name itself was a tribute to rapper Tupac Shakur's role in the film Juice, but it would come to mean so much more. 2015. While his classmates worried about prom dates and college applications, Jared was uploading tracks to SoundCloud. Raw, unfiltered emotion poured through computer speakers in bedrooms across America. His early tracks showcased a versatility that defied categorization. He wasn't just rapping or just singing. He was doing something entirely new. He was blending emo rock melodies with hip-hop rhythms, creating a sound that spoke to a generation raised on both Post Malone and XXXTentacion, both Nirvana and Future. His voice, vulnerable yet powerful, began attracting a devoted following of kids who felt just as lost as he did. By 2017, his SoundCloud numbers were becoming impossible to ignore. Hundreds of thousands of plays, then millions. He wasn't just making music, he was creating a movement for the emotionally wounded, the chemically dependent, the beautifully broken. And then it happened. Lucid Dreams. 3 words that would change everything. Released in May 2018, the track would become more than just a song. It became a cultural phenomenon, a generational anthem. Built on a sample from Sting's Shape of My Heart, Juice WRLD had created something unprecedented. He took the pain of a broken relationship and transformed it into a universal language of heartbreak that millions could understand. The song was recorded in just one session, with Juice freestyling most of the lyrics on the spot. Within months, the track climbed to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. It went diamond, over 10 million copies sold. More importantly, it introduced the world to a new kind of vulnerability in hip-hop, one that wasn't afraid to cry, wasn't afraid to admit weakness, wasn't afraid to be human. Suddenly, Jared Higgins was no longer a teenager from the Chicago suburbs. He was Juice WRLD, a global superstar. Record deals worth millions, sold-out concerts, collaborations with artists he'd grown up idolizing. Everything a young artist could dream of was now his reality. But dreams, as Juice knew better than most, can quickly turn into nightmares. The success brought new pressures. His debut studio album, Goodbye and Good Riddance, debuted at number 4. Features with Travis Scott, collaborations with Ellie Goulding, respect from legends like Eminem.
Yo, shout to Juice too, man. Like, yo, that kid was so talented, man.
But with success came scrutiny and the constant pressure to follow up a phenomenon with something even bigger. What the public didn't see was an artist consumed by creative perfectionism. Juice WRLD was notorious for recording dozens of songs in a single session. Industry insiders estimated he had over 2,000 unreleased songs. Most artists struggle to create 12 good tracks for an album. Juice was creating potential hits every single day. But fame is a drug that comes with its own dangerous side effects. And for someone who had already been self-medicating his emotional pain since his early teens, the pressures of stardom became another weight on shoulders that were already struggling to carry their load. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the addiction that Juice WRLD never tried to hide. Lean, Percocet, cocaine, Xanax. The substances had different names, but they all served the same purpose: silencing the voices in his head that told him he wasn't good enough, that the pain would never end, that the world was too dark to navigate sober. Armed and dangerous. Lean with me. Robbery. Empty. His discography became a real-time diary of a young man fighting demons that seemed larger than life itself. Unlike many artists who hide their struggles, Juice laid his addiction bare for the world to see. "I have a problem," he would say in interviews with casual honesty, "but I'm working on it." The problem was that his working on it often meant making more music about not working on it, creating a cycle where his pain became his product. By 2019, those closest to him were concerned. His girlfriend, ally Lottie, watched helplessly as the person she loved battled an addiction that seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. The same sensitivity that made him a brilliant artist was becoming a liability in a world that demanded constant performance. Before we continue with the most difficult part of Juice's story, I want to take a moment to thank each and every one of our 170 subscribers who have chosen to support this channel. Your support means everything. It allows us to tell these important stories with the depth and respect they deserve. To those 170 beautiful souls who believe in what we're doing here, thank you. You're not just subscribers. You're part of a community that believes music stories matter, that artists' lives have meaning beyond the charts and the headlines. And if you're watching this for the first time and finding value in how we approach these stories that honor both the art and the human behind it, please consider joining our growing family by hitting that subscribe button. We promise to continue bringing you content that goes beyond the surface. Now, let's return to Juice's story, because what happens next will change everything. December 8th, 2019, Chicago Midway International Airport. Juice WRLD was returning home from Los Angeles, where he had been working on new music. He had just celebrated his 21st birthday 6 days earlier. 21, an age when most people are just beginning to figure out who they are. But as the plane descended toward Chicago, law enforcement was waiting. Acting on a tip, federal agents were preparing to search the aircraft for weapons and drugs. What should have been a routine flight home was about to become the final chapter of a story that was supposed to have many more pages. The private jet touched down at 1:18 a.m. As federal agents boarded the aircraft, they found 70 pounds of marijuana, several bottles of codeine, and multiple firearms. But what happened next will be debated and questioned for years to come. Witnesses reported that upon learning of the search, Juice WRLD consumed multiple Percocet pills, potentially dozens. Whether this was panic, addiction, an attempt to destroy evidence, or something else entirely, we may never truly know. Within minutes, Juice began experiencing convulsions. Paramedics were called. CPR was administered. The ambulance rushed him to Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn, Illinois. Doctors worked frantically, but the damage was already done. At 3:14 a.m. on December 8th, 2019, Jared Anthony Higgins, known to the world as Juice WRLD, was pronounced dead. He was 21 years old. The official cause of death, accidental overdose of oxycodone and codeine. But for millions of fans around the world, the questions were just beginning. The news broke like a shockwave through social media. #RipJuiceWRLD began trending worldwide within hours. But this wasn't just the death of a celebrity. This was the loss of a voice that had spoken directly to a generation's pain. Vigils were held in Chicago, Los Angeles, cities around the world. Fans gathered to play his music, to share their stories, to mourn someone who had understood them in ways their families, their friends, sometimes even they themselves couldn't. They say legends never die, but some legends never truly lived long enough to see the full scope of their impact. Juice WRLD's death sent shockwaves through the music industry, but his influence was just beginning to unfold. Legends Never Die, his first posthumous album, debuted at #1. Fighting Demons followed, along with countless unreleased tracks. Over 40 billion streams worldwide, multiple platinum certifications, chart-topping albums released after his death. Look at today's music landscape. The Kid Laroi, I Endure, Lil Tecca, an entire generation of artists who wear their emotions on their sleeves, who blend genres without apology, who treat vulnerability as strength. They are all, in some way, Juice WRLD's children. Perhaps his true legacy lies not in commercial success, but in normalizing honest conversation about mental health in hip-hop. He opened doors for artists to discuss depression, anxiety, and addiction in a genre that had traditionally demanded stoic strength. And this brings us to the mysteries that still surround Juice WRLD's story. Mysteries that grow more intriguing with each passing year. First, there's the vault. Industry insiders estimate that Juice WRLD recorded between 2,000 and 3,000 songs during his career. At the current rate of release, it could take decades to hear everything he created. What secrets about his state of mind do these unreleased tracks contain? Then there are the lyrics themselves. Legends, recorded months before his death. What's the 27 Club? We ain't making it past 21. He was 21 when he died. Rich and blind, I don't want to die alone right now, but I don't want to live at all. Song after song that seemed to document not just his present struggles, but his future fate. How does someone so young write so accurately about death? Was it intuition? Was it the drugs talking? Or was it something deeper? An artist so in tune with his own mortality that he could see the end coming? In his final Instagram post, shared just hours before boarding that plane, Juice WRLD wrote simply, "Love is pain, but I love the pain." Did he know? Did he sense what was coming? Fans regularly report feeling Juice WRLD's presence in new music that's released. His collaborators describe working with his vocal stems as an almost supernatural experience, his voice seeming to respond to new beats with eerie perfection. Some say they still feel his presence in the music that continues to be released. Others swear they can hear his voice in the wind that blows through Chicago. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing remains undeniably true. Juice WRLD's spirit lives on in every young person who finds solace in his lyrics, strength in his vulnerability, and hope in his honesty about the darkness we all sometimes face. The truth is, we may never know what Juice WRLD was thinking in those final hours. We may never understand the full extent of what he left behind, or the complete meaning of what he was trying to tell us through his music. But sometimes, late at night, when his unreleased music surfaces, when a new collaboration drops unexpectedly, when his voice floats through speakers around the world, it almost feels like he's still here, still creating, still struggling, still searching for the light in the darkness. The question isn't whether Juice WRLD's story is over. The question is whether we're ready to truly hear what he was trying to tell us, while he still could.